So welcome to this special DVD video recording of the 5 Steps to Love. So this is something that's like really remarkable because it's a system that I developed and found myself back years ago when life was a little bit more tough. But I decided to make a big change.
Yeah, I mean, actually, this was when I can remember when I first met Tony, which is like, nearly 5 years ago now. And, you know, you were just writing your first book, or you just completed your first book, actually. And it's called, at the time, It's All Energy, but it was actually From an Ordinary to an Extraordinary Life. And in that book, and I remember you introducing me to this, was these 5 steps that really you had used yourself, and then that you were teaching other people in your coaching and your mentoring. And I just remember thinking, wow, well, you know, that's exactly what needs to happen to go from not having love in your life to having love in your life. And I just think they're amazing.
Yeah, and it's a perfect way from, you know, if you're not happy or satisfied with your life now, or particularly any area of your life this actually works well, but obviously we particularly tend to focus on relationships. And we always say, you know, if you get this area of life right, then all the others fall into place anyway. We always say so many people off doing seminars for wealth and seminars for property and all these things, yeah? But actually, if you don't get these fundamentals right, which work so well in this area of life, you know, not likely to succeed in the older wealth stakes either.
That's right, and it just reminds me of, I mean, we've had like hundreds of people now come to us. You know, singles wanting to get into a relationship, people in a relationship, people coming out of a relationship, all sorts of different things. We had this one guy who got actually dragged along. His girlfriend didn't even tell him it was a relationship seminar. He was dragged along to thinking he was going skiing, because obviously we're in Austria, and he did our seminar and learnt these steps. And I remember when we had that fantastic testimonial from him, didn't he, saying, you know what, this is not about relationships, even though it absolutely taught him so much about, you know, how to have love in his life, but this is actually about, you know, all of life and the steps that need to take so that we have the absolute life we're truly meant to live.
Indeed, so, yeah. Indeed. And of course he's gone on to do all of our events and have an amazing different experience to where he started. So here we are, let's get to the cut to the chase,
yes.
as we say, and let's get on with these 5 steps. So we're going to pop them up on the screen there for you so that you're going to be able to see them and really learn where they are, what they are, and how to utilise those in your daily life. So it's sort of a bit of an acronym which I've always called a DACM, which we now fondly call the 5 Steps to Love. And the first one is A for a DACM. Now, so what does the A stand for? It is the place to start, because I so remember in my old world, before I recognised, you know, what I was doing wrong and what wasn't working for me, that I was doing the best I could, but I was completely unaware that there was any other thing that I could be doing differently. In other words, I thought I was doing everything. In fact, I can remember saying at some stage in my very difficult relationship, but I've tried everything I know, which was absolutely true. Of course, the secret was there was a lot of things I hadn't tried, but of course I didn't know them.
And it's almost like every question we get on our website, or every person that comes to us for coaching, or every person that comes to one of our events or has our products, is coming to us and saying to us, you know, telling us the story about what it is that's going on in their relationship life, and saying, you know, it's all about the circumstances. It's all how difficult it is because we've got children from previous marriages, or it's all about the situation that my partner's never recovered from the breakup of his previous relationship, or, you know, she's still having an issue with her mother. They're always about circumstances that seem outside of that person.
Yes.
And we always say to people, and one of the great questions that we ask them very early on is, so what is it that you're doing? What is it you're doing? And it's kind of, you know, it's the thing we talk about as the first mistake, isn't it? It's the first mistake that we do is we focus on the other person, we don't focus on ourselves. So what are we doing? And it's that awareness, and that's why the first thing is A for awareness. It's the awareness of how you're showing up, how you're operating, and that's giving you exactly the results you're getting.
Yeah, it's another great word for it. I mean, awareness is everything. I always say if you're going to grow, if you're experiencing anything that's not working, then becoming aware of what you're you're doing that's giving you that experience is the secret. But of course, awareness also links to another of my favourite words, which is consciousness. So if you think about it, it's a bit like we've gone through life. I always remember going through life and I was a bit like a blinkered horse, running down the course. All I can see is the finish line. But of course, outside of this is the masses of life that we just cut ourselves off to, really, don't we? Absolutely. So becoming conscious of what else is going on around you, and what's the effect that's having on you internally, what decisions you make from what you are evaluating, is crucial to your ability to live a great and loving experience in your life.
Yeah, so awareness. Absolutely. Awareness is key. There's so many sayings about awareness.
Yeah, so through all of our teaching products, you're going to hear us say that word, awareness, awareness, awareness. And really, when we do our seminars or talks, or you're learning from our books or our products, it's always the first step. Can you become more aware of what you're doing in your life, what's going on inside you, rather than only aware of what's externally happening in your world, and then putting the blame of what's not looking good to you on those external things. So awareness it is. So what is the second A? The second A is actually the most difficult bit. When I sort of went through this phase myself and then came up with this an acronym, I could see it in myself. I could almost feel it in myself that what we call my ego self, that part of me that didn't really want to be wrong, didn't want to accept, which is the second A, didn't want to accept that I could in any way, shape or form be to blame for the experience that I was having. And I absolutely we see this in our events, don't we? People struggling to accept it.
Yeah, I mean, I just think of this great example of this is we had a guy here very recently in the last couple of weeks, and he came along a little bit again, a little bit dragged along. It's a bit of a thing that happened a lot. And he came and he's like, he had this amazing awareness that actually something completely that he'd never thought about before, and that was what he was eating was having a big effect on his energy. It was having a big effect on the way, how he felt about himself. It was having a big effect on the way he was, was he, had he got the energy to have a great relationship with his wife in the evening, or was he lying on the sofa, falling asleep in front of the TV? But the big thing that happened to him on the weekend when he was here was he had this awareness, but then he completely accepted it. He went, oh my God, I absolutely realise now that my behaviour, my energy, if you want to call it that, the way that I actually show up, the way that I interact with other people, the way that I'm with my wife and my daughter, is all down to what I'm putting in my body. And he just took this complete acceptance of it. It was just phenomenal. It was
remarkable, because he said, I never, we're not particularly vegetarian, but he somehow we didn't actually feed him any meat and dairy stuff while he was actually on our event. And so he sort of labelled that as vegetarian, which was interesting, because we don't really call ourselves vegetarians. We just call ourselves healthy eaters. And sometimes we're good at it, and sometimes we're less good. But you see, we're very aware when we're not doing so good. So then we have to accept that's what we're doing, and eating healthily does give us different results. So it was great to see this guy go home going, do you know what, I am going to change my eating habits, because I feel better, I feel totally different, and I can feel that I feel happier, and I'm making better decisions from a place of good energy, as opposed to being all tired and weak and can't be bothered. He said that's the place when I recognise with my partner, his wife in fact, that they get disconnected. So he's going, I am going to change this. It was remarkable.
And the other word that comes up for me when we're talking about really accepting is taking responsibility. I mean, I think of another quick example. If we had somebody that's a very kind of extreme example, we had a couple came and the guy admitted to having been unfaithful to his wife for the last 25 years, and kind of most recently with her best friend. And very, very early on in the time that we were coaching them, she actually became totally, first of all, aware, but then totally accepted, and it was phenomenal, wasn't it? Just totally accepted that she took responsibility for the way that she behaved that had actually caused that relationship to break down to such an extent that he'd gone elsewhere for his intimate needs to be met. Now, this is not about condoning or anything like that. It's just about accepting responsibility for your part in it. And so often, we have people come here and they'll say, somebody's broken up with me, or I've broken up with somebody because my relationship was really bad. But they're not taking any acceptance, they're not taking any responsibility for their part in that. So that's such a crucial step.
Yeah, and I absolutely know it's one of the most difficult things to do. And if you break through that barrier and go, do you know what? How could it be that, there's this whole thing about, if you go to the internet and type in cause and effect, you'll find this whole thing about cause and effect. And of course, if you put yourself just at effect, in other words, everything's happening to me, rather than how would it be that I am causing this to happen to me? You got a completely big change in life that will give you a completely different result once you come into that awareness. So there you go. It's awareness first, acceptance second, and once you get to over those two hurdles, oh my gosh, you're in a whole different place, ready for the D in Adakam. And the D in Adakam is for decisions, because from this particular place where you become consciously aware of the way you operate, the way you act, what you eat, all of those things, and then you accept that causes you to have certain experiences, then do you think you could just take different decisions?
Well, as I always say, people ask me, because I've been doing personal development for a long time now, some sort of 12 or 13 years, and people often say to me, Nikki, if there was one thing that is really, really important, what's the one thing that you would tell people that really made the difference for you? And I always say it's the conversations we have inside of ourselves. And what we're doing when we're having those conversations, it's the real decisions we're making inside of ourselves. So, when we're going to be saying this to you on so many of the programs, we're going to be saying to you when we're coaching you, we're going to be saying to you, what are you aware of? What are the patterns that you're running? We're going to be saying, do you accept responsibility for the fact that you have created the realities and the experiences you've had? But the next thing we're going to say to you is, what is your internal decision? Not just, well, I could do that, but what's a decision you're really making that's going to absolutely affect your life, that you make internally, and you make that decision internally and you say to yourself, that's it, no more. I'm not going to have that experience anymore because I'm going to make this decision to act differently, do something different, whatever that is.
Absolutely. It's like your action point, isn't it? And it's amazing. How many decisions do you make in a day? You're making like hundreds of decisions in a day. Shall I do this? Shall I have something to eat? Shall I, go to work early? Shall I? It's almost like your head's going around all the time making decisions. Well, once you become aware of that and you as Nikki says, you take responsibility for those things happening to you, that they're not, and that you're responsible for them, then of course you think you could just make different decisions. I mean, yes. When you make different decisions, you think you're going to get different results. Yeah, so of course you do. So there you go.
And we're going to be talking a lot, aren't we, about how you make those decisions. What place do you make those decisions from? Because another one of the big mistakes that we talk about is in relationship life, we're making decisions about who to be with. Who we're going to choose to spend our time with. Are we going to stay in a relationship that's not working for us? So many people say, should I stay or should I go? Big question, isn't it? Or how will I know if this is the right person for me? We're constantly in decision-making mode. I mean, we always say that one of the great things about our relationship is that we are deciding to be with each other every day. We're making that choice, that decision every day. So it's such a big thing. And one of the things is, where do you make that decision from? So think about it. You've probably got a decision you're trying to make in your life right now, because we're normally in that mode, aren't we? Is, where are you making that decision from? Are you making it from a place of fear because you're frightened of being alone, or you're making it from a place of having that certainty in yourself? It's all those kind of things that we're going to be talking about to you in great detail.
Yes. So the next step of the love steps is commitment. Now, commitment is like a big thing, because obviously what we're looking to do when we're making different decisions is to, as we say, get different results. Now, of course, if you want to find the result that's really going to work for you and give you the life that you really desire, then basically you've got to get committed to continually making those decisions. So in other words, there's no point in making the decision just once. Okay, so I won't have a drink tonight. but then tomorrow night you're straight back on another drink. If you consistently make those decisions, then it's easier to actually live the life that you want to live. So it's commitment to consistently making decisions that serve you, rather than slipping back and making decisions that basically don't.
Yeah, because and it's said that without the commitment, it's not really a decision.
No.
Because you're really you're actually taking action, and you're taking action on a consistent basis. And I just think about, when I think about commitment, I think about my husband. Right? I mean, Tony is just one of the best examples of somebody who is committed. So what does that look like? Well, it looks like getting up early and staying up late. I mean, obviously, Tony's totally man on his purpose, and he's absolutely motivated, to do it. But he's totally committed it, and it's so interesting when you say to yourself, how does somebody who's successful get that success? Well, I think that the commitment to doing something, what does that mean? It really means, doing whatever it takes. It means changing your approach. It means staying committed even when it's difficult. And I think about the female version of that. Tony's totally committed to his purpose. He takes action on it. He's committed in the way that he's very determined also by stating it, announcing it to people. And then the feminine version I have is, I'm saying I am committed to supporting Tony as much as I can. Now, sometimes that's difficult, and the honest truth is that I had so many years of being the decision maker, being the committed one, that for me to take a more the supportive role has not been that easy for me. But you see, I'm committed to it, and so what does that mean? Is it means that I will actually, one of the things that I teach women, isn't it, that if I get into that mode where I'm feeling like, okay, I'm not really living this commitment that I've made to really supporting Tony, I just take myself to one side and go, what do you really want? You really want to be in this feminine role, you've got to follow through on that commitment. And so what I do is I have a little chat with myself, and I talk to myself about letting go. So you see, it's about finding those strategies and techniques also for what do you do when commitment's difficult. So that's why it's such an important thing.
Yeah, one of the little things I learned, I don't remember who it was I learned it from, it's I don't know, one of those personal development things, but it's always stuck with me. It's always stuck with me that to make change in your life, you need to do something consistently, i.e. being committed, for 21 consecutive is the secret, consecutive days. So for example, if you want to give up drinking, then basically you'd not have a drink for 21 consecutive days, and that does mean that if you get to day 14 and it's somebody's birthday and if you ask for champagne, they have to go back to the beginning and start again.
Well, they say that it becomes a habit.
That's right.
The 21 days makes it become
after the 21 days you've now replaced drinking with not drinking as your habit. So, and this works with everything. So in relationships, if you consistently get, say, annoyed with your partner, could you find a way inside yourself each day to go, okay, I can recognise that I am, I've become unaware, and I accept that I get annoyed. I get annoyed at all different things, and I'm going to make the decision to get committed to not getting annoyed each day. And if you did that for 21 consecutive days, how would it be that magic would happen? And I have certainly learned that being with this beautiful woman, she is like a master of this. In fact, we've both mastered it really well. We've both mastered creating a state inside ourselves which we're proud of, really. And we'll also recognise and become very aware and conscious when our energy goes down, and we, like Nikki said, we take ourselves away and go, okay, what are you doing? And this is really the power of using the Adakam and the 5 steps to love.
That's right.
So the next step is the M, and the M is probably the thing that in my life, when I got to this far, I'm going, okay, I'm really, really committed, but what can I do to really make this happen so that I can get the gift? And the gift really is to integrate the change into your life. So it's not about intellectualizing it. So many people go to seminars, they learn things, and then they intellectualize it, and they can spurt it all out. I've heard many people spurt out all these great things, but then you look at their life and they're not living it. So the secret is integration, and the key to integration is to keep the momentum going. So like Nikki said, when the going gets tough, what are you going to do to keep going, basically? So momentum comes in many guises. So.
I'm just trying to think of a good example of momentum. I think that so many people will, again, come to us and they'll be talking about their partner, for example. My partner behaves like this and I don't really like the way they behave. So then what we do, of course, what you already know right now, is that, we talk to them about awareness of what they're doing. We talk to them about accepting that. We talk to them about making a decision to act differently. And then we talk to them about being committed to acting differently. So what happens is they go home and they behave differently towards their partner. And the great news is that they will normally say to us, but say my partner doesn't do anything any different. So we say, well, then you've got two options. You either, which is we wouldn't recommend, is that you stop doing things, you stop behaving better towards them, because we wouldn't recommend that, because you'd always want to behave in the best way you can. Or, you accept that this person's not going to change, and then you'll make a different decision about whether you want to be with that person. But the important thing there is that our belief, and most people will find that when you behave differently, when you're committed to something and you've made a decision and you're committed to it, when you behave differently, you will get a different result. So the great thing about it is that's what momentum's about. It's saying, right, now I've done something different, I'm getting a better result. Now what can I do to increase the momentum? Because momentum's all about action and movement. So what can I do to increase the momentum? So we had somebody leave here recently, and he's gone home and he's basically gone, oh, it was fantastic. I went home. His partner didn't come with him. He went home and he tried a different approach. He had a different approach with her and got a completely different reaction. He's going, that's fantastic. We're now, looking like our relationship is much, much better than it used to be. And our question to him would be now is, how do you now keep momentum? And, we'd be saying things to him like, what would now enhance your relationship even more? We might say something like, how could you speak even more of your truth? How could you, talk to your partner in a way that where you understand more of his or her needs? It's things like that. So what can you do to increase the momentum so that you get an even better result? Because guess what? It is so much easier to keep going on something when you've got an increased result.
Yeah.
It's like being on a diet, isn't it? It's like, if you've lost a bit of weight and then you do a little bit more healthy eating or a little bit more exercise and you lose even more, it feels fantastic, doesn't it?
And really, momentum falls into two halves. So Nikki's perfectly explained, well, what am I going to do inside of me to keep that momentum going? And one thing that we see human beings doing over and over again is failing miserably to ask for help. Because asking for help is one of the best ways to get momentum. Now, people like us, we got very, very committed I did. Nikki came to support me all the way along the line. I got very committed to, when we started doing this, of what could I do to help people once they've got that intellectual learning, to help them integrate it. And I knew that momentum was going to be the thing. And one of the key things that helped me was to get myself a coach. My coach helped me keep that momentum, kept me in check, asked me fantastic questions that made me go, I don't want to go back to the life I've had before, because that actually was causing me a lot of pain and a lot of hurt. What I wanted was this sort of dream that is right out in front of me, but what I needed to do was keep moving towards it without looking back. I always say so many people are metaphorically driving their life as though they're in a car, but they're looking in the rear view mirror all the time.
Yes.
So what they do, they crash. So what you need to do is focus very much on what you do want, and then ask for help. The other momentum that I utilised, which was outside of me, was absolutely to read lots of books, was to listen to lots of CDs. It's one of my favourite things to do. Tape some of those old people out there. I used to have some tape cassettes I used to put in my car. Nowadays we're into CDs and DVDs like you're watching now. So get watching the experts.
It's like visual anchors like treasure maps and reading your vision and all those sort of things. I think that can really keep the momentum going.
Keep you focused on that, on your target, so to speak. I would say that if you feel lost in your life, it's because you don't know where you're going. Yes. So when you actually know where you want to go, then really it is about keeping up that momentum to move towards it every day. And I know that every day, if I don't move towards my ultimate vision for life, then actually I don't really feel so good. I feel like I can drift back a little bit. So I make it, one of the most important things of my day is to do something towards getting me to that target, and then I feel good and we stay in great connection and what have you. It's all about momentum.
Yeah, and that's why, just the other thought that just came to me when you were just talking about coaching then is that one of my favourite coaching questions is, you know, on a scale of 0 to 10, where are you? So wherever you are, whatever you're trying to achieve, whatever goal you've got, whatever you're committed to, you know, be that a masculine goal, where am I getting, or something feminine like, you know, how can I support my man more, right? Is like, you know, on a scale of 0 to 10, where are you? And then of course what a great coach will ask you, and you can ask yourself this question, is, well, if I'm at X, what needs to happen to move me to a 10? Mm-hmm. And you see, that's how you get momentum, and all the answers are within you. So what needs to happen to get you to a 10? Ask yourself that question over and over again if needs be, to get you momentum to move you forward. And as long as you're committed, of course, you are going to keep that momentum going. And then after 21 days, what happens? It gets integrated.
You got it. So that's what we're all looking for, is that integration. And so the 5 steps to love are are the secret, so to speak. So remember what they are. First step is awareness. Yeah. No awareness, you're just going to carry on doing what you've always done. Yeah. And then you'll always get what you always got. This is the great Henry Ford once said. Right. Step 2 is acceptance. Acceptance that you are at cause. You're not at effect. Yeah. So the world's not happening to you, you're creating it. That's the big point there. Yeah. And that's often the big difficult one. So, you know, be very aware that, you know, whether you're accepting or not. Yeah. And the next one, the number 3, is actually making great decisions. Making, you know, different decisions are going to get you different results. Yeah. And then see what's working and keep doing that. Basically stop what's not working. Yeah. But you've got to give it time. Remember the 21-day rule. Yeah. So then the next one is commitment. Number 4 is commitment. If you don't get committed to staying on that path, then you're going to start to keep looking back over your shoulder and going and experience what's over your shoulder, which is your past. So you'll experience more of your past rather than more of your future. And then of course the 5th stage is to get momentum. Ask for help. Go inside yourself. Look at what you're doing that's great and keep doing more of that. Find out what you could do to keep the ball rolling, so to speak. And then you get the gift. You get the gift of experiencing the love that, you know, basically everybody wants to experience, is having that love integrated daily into your life, where you're feeling phenomenal. You're feeling all those great things, feeling happy, you're feeling joyful, you're feeling fulfilled, and you're feeling love in your life like you never thought was possible. So there you go.
Absolutely.
The 5 steps to love. Tony and Nikki's key tool that we use in all of our events, products, everything. So if you can get learning those 5 steps, ingrain them into your body, you will get the love that you desire and integrate it into your life. So that's it, really. The Adakam process, as we call it. So thank you for being with us. Yeah, 5 steps to love. Remember them well, and we'll be back with you on another learning DVD very soon, no doubt. So we'll see you then.